Welcome back, friends. So in this video we're going to cover quite a range of topics. As you can see, we will talk about frequency, understand mean, median, mode, range of a series, as well as look into probability and define it, understand it, solve it. These are all topics covered under data handling and statistics and important for your class 7 exams. Alright, let's dig right in. So first up, coming up is understanding frequency of a data series. It's best explained with an example. So here we have an example where we're given the scores obtained by 15 students from a class. It ranges from 60, goes all the way up to 100, and we have some questions that we have to answer. So what we have to do in this scenario is, with this data that is provided to us, which is scattered all over, ranging from 60 to 100, what we do is put it into different buckets, and then we determine the number of times each score is found in this particular data series, and that is nothing but the frequency of that score. And this table here becomes your frequency distribution table. So 60 occurs 2 times, 70 occurs 4 times, 80 occurs 4 times, 100 occurs 2 times, and 90 occurs 3 times, for a total of 15. And that's when you make sure you have captured all of your data elements from the score. And with this in your hands, now you're able to answer this question. Okay, how many students scored at least 80? By looking at the chart, the frequency distribution table that you just created, you can answer the question. So okay, how many people obtained 84, how many obtained 93, and how many obtained 102? So the sum of all of these gives you the number of students that score at least 80. And then the next question is, how many students scored less than 80, is the ones that fall into the other category, or the other two buckets, who scored 70 and 60. Add them up, and that gives you 6, and that's your answer. Alright, that's all about frequency, guys. Now we'll understand what a mean of a series is. Mean of a series, or mean of a data set, is nothing but your regular average. So for instance, you have the student Joe and his scores that he obtained in the last exam. He scored pretty well, I think, for the most part, except for history and English and math, of course. He could have scored a lot better, right? So we have 6 subjects here, and we've been asked to score, or to calculate the mean of Joe's scores. Mean is nothing but the sum of all the scores divided by the total number of the data elements. So since we have 6 subjects here, the denominator becomes 6. Adding all the subjects gives you 498, divided by the total gives you 6, and that is the mean. That's your regular average. Easy squeezy. Now we will understand what a median of a data set is. Now, a median of a data set is nothing but the middle value of the data set when it is arranged in ascending order. So for instance, you've been given this data set comprising of the numbers 55, 52, 50, 70, 60, 40, 70, and these are the weights of 7 boys in a class in kgs, and we've been asked to calculate the median weight. So the first step in this scenario is we calculate or we arrange all these elements in ascending order. Okay, done. Starting with 40 going all the way up to 70. And since we have an odd number of data elements here, in case of an odd number of data elements, the median is given by the middle number, which is nothing but, if n is 7, then it becomes n plus 1 upon 2th element, nothing but the 4th element, and that gives us 55. And on the right hand side, we have a scenario where we have been provided with an even number of data elements. So in this case, the median becomes the mean of the middle two numbers. So the mean of the fourth and the fifth numbers, 55 and 60, which are the middle two, gives you your median. Easy enough. All right, moving on. Now let's look at understanding what is a mode. Now, mode is nothing but that data element or those sets of data elements that have the most frequency in a data set. So for instance, here we've been given attendance of students from 4 divisions, and they've been given by percentages, and we've been asked to determine those students or those divisions that have the highest attendance. That's something that is probably looked at by most schools, right? So in this scenario, what they would do is they would use the mode to determine that answer. So mode is nothing but the data element that has the highest frequency, and in this example 75 is the mode, and that is coming from divisions B and D. So that's your mode. All right, people, let's move on. Let's understand what a range is. Now, range is nothing but the difference between the highest and the lowest values of a data set. Looking at the previous example where we were trying to understand the mean of Joe's scores, we look at the same example and then we determine that the highest value in this range of scores is 96 and the lowest value is 75. With the definition of range in mind, we calculate the range is 96 minus 75, giving us 21. That becomes a range of this particular series. Alright, we're going pretty well here. And now jumping into the probability section. Now, probability is different in the sense it is the likelihood of an event. So for instance, we might want to know the likelihood that that we might win a match, right? So there is a certain probability that you get assigned to such events, is determined by this formula, which is given by number of favorable outcomes divided by the total number of outcomes. In any case, the numerator is always less than or equal to the denominator. If that is the case, then what happens is the probability is always between 0 and 1, right? Since the numerator is always less than or equal to the denominator, and common sense reveals that probability should be between 0 and 1, which is nothing but a percentage, right? So between 0% and 100%. So here we have an example. We have a die, which is nothing but a singular form of dice. So we have a die that's tossed, and we want to find the probability of getting a 6. Okay. Now, in case a die is tossed, the number of times you will get a 6 is only 1, right? And the total number of outcomes is you could get a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. So that means the total number of outcomes are 6. Then with the formula that we have, the probability of getting a 6 becomes favorable outcomes, which is 1, divided by total number, which is 6, and that's your answer. It's 1 by 6. A few more examples, sum being at least 1. In that case, no matter what you do, you will at least get a 1, right? You will get a sum of at least 1. So the least score that you would get is 1, and the highest would be a 6. So in any case, and the total the number of favorable outcomes would be 6, and therefore the probability of the sum being at least 1 equals 6 divided by 6, and that's 1. Similarly, probability of getting a 7 is what? In this scenario, the number of favorable outcomes are 0, because you would never get a 7 if a single die is tossed, right? The maximum you could get is a 6. That's why the numerator is 0, and that's why your probability of getting a 7 becomes 0. Alright, that's all guys. Thank you for watching. Please, if you haven't subscribed yet, it'd be great if you could subscribe to our channel. We have new videos coming up on a regular basis. Thanks again.